Hello everyone, this is astrologer Yerevan, and I am here today during this Virgo new moon on September 17th to expound a bit on a reading that I gave on my blog about a week ago called Mars Retrograde, a tarot reading for the world. And before I go into the cards, let me just explain a bit more about Mars and what it means for Mars to be retrograde. Mars is the planet of action, energy, passion, ambition. It's very much linked with our vitality, and it's very masculine in nature. And it is in its own sign right now, Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. And Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, has much to do with our identity, how we initiate things in the world. It's also very much a masculine driven kind of sign. And typically when Mars goes retrograde, there's a bit less energy to tackle goals and a little bit less vitality overall. It's not necessarily that way for everyone. People tend to experience this in a different way, of course, but for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to go through the very basics and then, expound on the actual card reading that I gave. Now, from a holistic standpoint, Mars would be linked with the third chakra. The third chakra is how we express our livelihood and our willpower, and just like Mars is the go-get-it planet, and so it is from this chakra, the third chakra, that we assert ourselves in the world. So for many people, they might find that they're struggling in that area, or that there's some sort of indigestion, literally or figuratively speaking. And Mars can be a planet that brings up a lot of frustration. So in this case, Mars is retrograde. That frustration would be internalized. So it's very important to find outlets for pent-up feelings of any kind that are of a very volatile and extreme nature. Now, moving on to the reading. This is a general reading for the world, and it's basically my interpretation through the tarot and astrology of what is taking place during this Mars retrograde transit. Now, Mars turned retrograde on September 9th and will be going direct on November 13th. So there is a 9-week retrograde period. The first card that I got for Mars being retrograde and what we can expect to be dealing with overall is the 8 of Swords. This is, being a sword card, automatically a signal of some kind of turmoil, some kind of stress. And being of the sword suit, this is related to the mind. It's of the air element. So we're dealing with mental issues. We're dealing with air quality for those on the West Coast who have been suffering from all the smoke from the so-called wildfires. And we're dealing with a lot of insecurity and indecision about, where to go, what to believe. There's so many ideas of, where things are going right now due to this crazy year that we've all been experiencing. Most of us in the world living in civilized countries have been really experiencing a lot of stress. So this is not very surprising that this card came up. And it does have the Gemini energy. It's astrologically aligned with Jupiter and Gemini. So there's just this overwhelming feeling of being stuck with all of our ideas, with all of our, the tension that's building up. And Gemini links with the lungs. Holistically, this links with again, the air quality, and it affects our ability to move forward. Traditionally, in the tarot, there's a symbol of someone being bound and unable to go anywhere. So that feeling of the lockdown being in effect, it's been kind of this, push and pull energy all year round, with with ever since the whole lockdown began, of okay, there's only a certain amount of time where you need to be locked down. Okay, we're going to lift the restrictions a little bit. Oh, no, the virus is spreading. So this whole dynamic has been going on all year, and now there's a whole other level of fear that's being spread because of natural disasters and also manufactured disasters, orchestrated chaos. So this is just really, a lot of people are not really sure where to even go with this. So this is just, we're moving through a lot of fears collectively. This is not a hopeless thing. This is not a bad thing, actually, because this means that it's becoming more and more clear to many people that something's very wrong here, and it's not really what we're being told, because we're dealing with the sword here. We're dealing with information. The sword suit relates to information, ideas. The ideas that we've been given, the so-called truth that's been shoved in our faces through the mainstream media, is more and more looked upon with skepticism, and rightly so, because this is ludicrous, right? What's in our faces is a result of being collectively just manipulated. And now with Mars retrograde, there's all this buildup of frustration that a lot of people are having. And the healthy part of that is that the frustration even exists, that people are not docile, that they're not just going to take this lying down, that people are waking up, people are questioning things and sharing information with each other. So there is a suggestion that even though people aren't quite sure where this is going, it's a discussion, and one that could lead to liberation ultimately. I do have that hope. I do pray for that ultimate outcome, for people to be freed from these limitations, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. And so this is definitely a symbol, this Eight of Swords, of us being at a crossroads. And I used the Spirit of Herbs and the Herbal Tarot by Michael Tierra, and the herb that corresponds with this card is black cohosh. Black cohosh, for those who aren't familiar with, is an herb that has long been sacred to Native Americans. It is, on the physical level, often used for feminine problems and female cycles, such as menstruation, menopause, and it really has this affinity for those types of issues. But it's also one that has been used for diseases such as measles and rheumatism, and even, going back to female issues for easing the pains in childbirth. On an energy level, the black cohosh is about literally purifying our energy fields of toxins, and especially imprints, psychic imprints, as a result of having abusive situations that have accumulated these toxins in our bodies, minds, and spirits. So there is an abuse that many people have suffered collectively without them really understanding or knowing it. And now that knowledge is coming to the fore, and people are desiring to purge themselves of these false beliefs and of these poison arrows, if you will. So black cohosh spiritually is there to extract those poisons, to literally purge them out of our systems. The archetype of Kali Ma, the Hindu goddess of destruction, is one that one author, Isha Lerner, has assigned to that flower of black cohosh for that reason. So that, in summary, is what the Eight of Swords is telling us right now. I picked another card for advice, and I got the card of Temperance. And Temperance is typically symbolized by an angel that has these two cups, and they're alchemical cups. And it's it's a representation of a sort of blending process, the principle of integration and synthesis, and of especially of opposite or opposing forces. So one of the things that came to mind immediately was that it would really behoove us to work together in collaboration with like-minded people. This is not a time to go at it alone, because there is strength in numbers. And, because of all of the social distancing and this, this push for everyone to just, keep to themselves, we've forgotten the strength that each of us can contribute to the whole by aligning with those who share our similar values. So even if that's done on the internet, it doesn't matter. It's just about linking up mentally and in some ways physically, if that's possible. Another thing that came to me is this idea of international negotiations, and the fact that these negotiations can very much affect life on the whole planet, especially now with certain decisions that have to be made about advancing sciences and technology and medicines, or so-called medicines, and the idea of forcing these medicines on people, mandatory vaccinations, for example, and the ideas of conflict resolutions. And whose ideas are these, right? So are these really the ideas of the collective, or are they the ideas that have been organized by a few elite at the top of the world pyramid, for example? So, taking a closer look at what we can do to align with community. And also, this card is very much about our gifts, each of our unique gifts that contribute to the whole. So whether you're an artist, a scientist, a doctor, a teacher, you have something important right now to bring to the table. And anything that you can bring to the table with all you've got, I mean, the world needs this collaboration. The world needs innovation and solutions, and it needs, real research and things that are going to help enlighten people, things that are going to help heal people and remind people of the function of their immune systems, for example, instead of just thinking, oh, I must always wear a mask and constantly sterilize everything that's being touched. It's just it's getting out of hand, right? It's just insane what's happening. So what we need to do is think more in terms of solutions, real solutions based on real things that people can just do without this idea of so much law and restriction, and everything has to be done in a certain kind of way that doesn't offend people. Remembering too, like the symbol of the angel, that there is a divine providence for those who look for that, if you look for the synchronicities, if you have a spiritual life, if you take the time to meditate, to pray, to ask for spiritual guidance, ask and you shall receive. This is about remembering that we are so much more than these bodies, that we shouldn't be so obsessed with germs, because then that means we're forgetting that we're more than these bodies, that something more, that is the spiritual aspect of who we are, is what is going to empower us, is going to make us immune, is going to heal us and lead us to real lasting solutions. And that brings me to the flower or herb that is assigned with this particular tarot card in the Herbal Tarot. That is echinacea. Most people nowadays have heard of echinacea, which is an herb that is used for boosting the immune system. So this is a symbol, this is a bit of a guidepost saying, yes, it is important to keep up our immunity, because there are many things that are stressing us out collectively. Now, there are a number of ways to boost the immune system, and most of these methods are not going to be talked about in the mainstream media. I'm not really here to give medical advice or even suggestions to go about that. Suffice to say that if you are intuitive, if you follow a natural kind of diet and you're conscious of what you put into your body, you know automatically what I'm talking about here. So, and you are primarily the people that I'm directing this to. So keep up your immunity, keep it up, keep your body in shape, stay hydrated, make sure that you're resting enough. All of these things are very, very important right now because of the added stress, the added responsibility, and the fact that we're not, this whole, craziness is not over yet. And also, astrologically, the Temperance card is assigned to the sign of Sagittarius. And there is a big eclipse coming at the end of this year in the sign of Sagittarius. A real game changer, I would say. It's a solar eclipse, 23 degrees of Sagittarius on December 14th, right as Chiron is going direct, and right before Saturn enters Aquarius, and Jupiter will soon follow, entering Aquarius. That is a huge signal of us actually entering this fully into this upcoming age of Aquarius. And it's a real turning point in the year. So there will probably be a lot of things coming up at that time, because it also coincides with the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, and there's a whole influence with that, and the world politics having some, it's a thing that happens every 20 years, and it's going to be tumultuous most likely. So we want to be strong, aligned with our soul tribe. We want to be in a place where we are really focused and just ready for anything, because Sagittarius is a mutable sign. So it suggests lots of change, lots of unexpected things coming our way. So now is the time to begin preparing ourselves by readying ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, for these changes that are about to take place. The final card that I picked was the Six of Swords. This is a card symbolizing the ultimate outcome of this Mars retrograde period. Traditionally, this card is depicted with swords in a boat, 6 swords in a boat over water, and it implies a journey of some sort. It could be a journey of the mind, but often it is a physical journey. So many people are taking journeys away from their place of residence because they feel unsafe. Some are visiting friends and family, some have a business trip, but mostly people are looking for a place of refuge. People are looking for a place to actually become more centered, because everything has thrown off the balance. 6 is a number of balance. So people are looking for balance. They're also looking for the truth. And this card is all about finally discovering some aspect of that truth and having a true open discussion about it. So it suggests some level of success that we can expect to come out of this period, with greater awareness being raised. And because Aquarius is a sign that is attributed to this card, specifically Mercury in Aquarius, it suggests that the conversation is now open. People are more openly discussing things that have been censored, that have been, people have been punished for talking about certain things. And I'm not to say that that will end, but this is suggesting that there's more of a sense of fairness, that people can consider different points of view, and that this is a time when it's very important to communicate these new ideas. And especially because by the time Mars goes direct, it's going to be, post-election for the US. That's a big deal in the world because the US has such a big influence for good or ill. And this particular election carries so much weight with it. Because this, whatever happens, my particular stance on our options, I don't really see a positive, candidate right now. So it's kind of like, it really depends on people and how much they can step up to the plate and become more cooperative with each other and form solid communities. So that's really what the Six of Swords is about here. Instead of relying on a president or world leaders in general to solve the problems for us, we need to become more innovative, like the Aquarius with the mentality of having this broad vision of what's best for people, but also being able to listen and have a fair discussion, and really about people sectioning off, because not all things are good for all people. So it's important to keep that in mind. This is also about illumination and becoming very sometimes surprised by what is discovered, by what is revealed. This card corresponds with the third eye. So for a lot of people, they're going to be having heightened psychic experiences, heightened dreams and synchronicities, and just, all of those aha moments that really shake people out of a sort of stasis. So it's time to get moving. It's time to get discussing. Again, going back to the advice card, which was about coming together, having, joint efforts and solutions. That is also what's suggested by the Six of Swords, that, while on the one hand, things might be really stressful and explosive, because one thing that Mars going direct can do is that all of the tension, all of the frustration that had built up and was not expressed or was thwarted, or all of the energy that was not able to be expressed, is now going to come full force. Okay, so there will probably be discord and upheavals around that time in November, and it's going to probably last until the end of the year, most likely. So, and also it's not surprising that Mars will still be in the post shadow for the rest of the year. So it's really it's a long influence that we're looking at, several weeks all throughout the holiday season. But having the Six of Swords there is a positive sign that many people are going the right direction, because they're starting to understand, and they're starting to speak up more, speak their truth, live their truth. Again, they're not just going to accept that this is going to become some Orwellian world, that this is just, like the Brave New World that I started off this year. I really didn't know it was going to be this bad, but I was reading the book Brave New World, and I posted it on my social media and said, okay, I'm getting ready. Whoa, I don't think any of us could have seen what was coming exactly, unless they were already insiders. So the Six of Swords, again, is about clear vision, and also it indicates possible travel, but not just of the body, also of the mind. And in the Herbal Tarot deck, the flower or herb associated with this is I called it verbena, which is the botanical name, vervain. So vervain is an herb that is used to induce sweating. It's very much for breaking a fever. And so that's what we need we need these swords of truth to break through the BS, to sweat it out, to purge. Again, this whole time it's been a suggestion of what we need to discard. Old ideas and old toxins and things that are blocking us, blocking our clarity, most of all, but also because it's corresponding to, it's going to help relieve fevers and coughs. And I'm not giving medical advice because, of course, this herb is not right for all people. So do take responsibility for, if you try taking this, actually make sure that it's the right thing for you. But it's for unblocking the stagnation in the liver, which is the largest organ that has to process all of our stress hormones. So again, it's suggesting the detox, just like the first card, the Eight of Swords, that was represented by Black Cohosh. Now this herb is about also, clearing out the stuff that's blocking our vision, and also it's just really about becoming more clear-sighted and able to take in the big picture, to see it for what it is, to be able to talk about it in a calm, clear, rational manner with each other instead of arguing and speaking over each other, to keep a dialogue open, not just, with each other amongst people that we're comfortable with, but maybe in a legal sense. Maybe this has to do with the bigger corporations and the bigger franchises and the bigger monsters that we have to deal with, that have so much control, so much power in the world. And so having to stay level-headed, which is, again, the Mercury in Aquarius, very level-headed, very logical, rational, cool, calm, and collected. That's basically what the Six of Swords is suggesting, that where we're heading. So that's it for this reading. I hope that's been helpful for you. I welcome your feedback, and blessings to all of you. Be well.